feel pride when I speak of my father because what he did was a miraculous thing.
Kisa Johnson, that's her on the right in this picture with her big sister, was just 2 years old when she lost her father. She wasn't able to grow up with him in her life, but now 36 years later, she still thinks about him every day. And she knows she missed out on a lot.
My children will never get to know their grandfather. My father would never walk me down the aisle.
On the night of February 16, 1980, Atlanta police officer Alfred Johnson was doing what many officers do to make ends meet, working a second job. He was working as a security guard at the Big Buy grocery store that used to be here on Flat Shoals Road in East Atlanta.
Two men come in, disguised. One had a mask pulled over his head, and the other one had a trench coat on with a hood.
Officer Johnson's instincts kicked in. He knew he had to act fast to protect the innocent customers.
Alfred Johnson sees what's going on, confronts the person with the shotgun, actually grabs it according to witnesses, and is fighting this person over the gun.
Officer Johnson struggled with the men. They both shot him and took off with cash and food stamps. A third suspect was waiting in a getaway vehicle.
People in the store just helped him until, ambulance got there, but unfortunately he died, like literally minutes after arriving at the hospital.
Officer Johnson's daughter Kisa was too young to remember what happened, but his sister Jane, one of 4 of Officer Johnson's siblings, remembers it like it was yesterday. A fellow officer called to break the news.
He called me and said, your brother's been shot. And my husband couldn't get me to the hospital to Grady fast enough. My mom came when she felt, because she said she knew before she got there that something inside of her had fallen.
In the 3 decades since the murder, Officer Johnson's sister says she and the rest of the family think or talk about him every day.
I wear this in honor of him.
Sister Jane wears this necklace with her brother's badge number on it. It's a way to honor him and the sacrifice he made to protect and serve. But instead of dwelling on his murder, Officer Johnson's family tries to remember the good times and what made him so special.
We had lots and lots of good fun with him. When he went away to be at the Job Corps, that's when after graduation, I knew he wanted to be something and do something with his life, and I've always respected that.
Before becoming an Atlanta police officer, Alfred Johnson was a Marine. He was a hard worker who loved life, adored his children and his wife Mildred. And she adored him too. She never remarried, and in 2010, shortly after police reopened the case, made a plea for information.
I used to go down to the police department and sit down there on a daily basis, trying to find out what happened to my husband.
But Officer Johnson's widow has since passed without seeing justice in the case. Now her surviving relatives are carrying the torch, and so are Atlanta police.
There's no case that's too old, but this is one of our own too.
Veteran APD homicide detective Vince Velasquez has been working the case for 6 years. After reopening the case in 2010, investigators made some progress, but it stalled again. Detective Velasquez says he's determined to solve the case before he retires.
This is one of a couple of other cases that I have, but this one is the only unsolved murder of an Atlanta police officer that we have on the books. It's not just important to me, but it's important to the entire department. It's important to the chief, the mayor, the citizens of Atlanta. People want to see justice.
Investigators and Officer Johnson's family realize there are challenges in a case this old, including the fact no one got a good look at the getaway driver. But they're hoping after all these years, human nature has kicked in, and at least one of the 3 people involved has talked about it.
So that's the hope, that these perpetrators over the years have bragged about it, killing a cop, bragged about, committing a robbery where an officer was involved.
And they're hoping someone who's heard about what happened will finally have the courage to come forward and call Crime Stoppers to get Officer Johnson the justice he deserves.
So even if it's someone who knows what happened and they don't want to tell who they are, they can remain anonymous. They can still receive a reward, and then that may put us in the right direction.
It may sound cliche, but an arrest or arrests in the case would help bring Officer Johnson's family much needed closure.
They had the opportunity to spend with their family, or whatever path they went down. It was their choice, and they had the opportunity to do that, although they robbed us of ours. I have been angry. I have been hurts more than anything. I have, of course, wanted justice.
Until she gets that justice, Keisa Johnson is holding on to the few memories she has of her father and these pictures of her family, including this one that was supposed to be a family photo taken shortly after her father's murder.
This was supposed to be a picture of the four of us.
And when she passes these photos as she heads to sleep each night, she remembers the brave man who died protecting others.
When I pray at night, I ask God to give him a